Some schools allow certain things to happen. They don't really care if the kids pass because they get more money if the school is failing. What about that part?
What about when one of our commander chiefs had pass no fail?
George Bush, is that
Yep.
right?
You
Right.
talking about the what was it? No Child Left Behind? Was
No
that?
child left behind.
That
Yeah,
was garbage.
yeah,
You see
And
how that worked,
yeah. Just push them out.
right?
but
Yeah.
but like that was the thing. Like the kid had to worry about what they made or how they did in class.
Nope.
They should have called it All Child's Left Behind.
I mean, it was like no pass, no pass fail, no
All
child left
children.
behind. Go. I mean, but that was the thing though. And then you had kids that's not really. Some still tried and still made effort, and then you had others like, forget it. I'm gonna go to the next grade anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the schools don't care. They getting paid regardless.
And that's wrong. That's wrong in so many ways, though.
But that's what happens when you leave it up to the local government or the state. I know it for a fact.
So, do you think that may come down to like some people feel like they don't have a voice?
They may have a voice. A lot of the parents try. They try, they cry, they yell, they go to the meetings, they do everything they can, but it really doesn't matter when it comes to these boards and politics. Politics run everything. And all they want is more and more money. More schools are failing, the more money they get.
That's sad.
I
is.
mean, I
That's
tend to
sad.
agree.
It is.
That's sad.
I mean, to your point, that when you're talking about like we don't teach kids real skills.
No.
Why are we not focusing on having classrooms that talk about AI?
Mhm.
Why don't we have? You have to go to college for this stuff. Why don't we have excuse me. Why don't we have regular K through 12 programs focused on investment banking?
Mm.
Why don't we have? Why don't we have any of these things that actually are a real deal? Let me learn. You have to, of course, with math is pretty standard, but in general, there are many things in our world right now that kids they just learn on their own, which is great. But why isn't there a curriculum focused on
But
it?
they took it out of schools
Yeah.
because, like, I can remember when I was in 7th grade, I had a class where they literally taught you how to manage an account, learn how to balance a checkbook.
Yep.
We had stuff like home ec,
Yeah.
and we had like stuff,
Carpentry, shop class.
yeah, shop
shop.
classes.
We had computer class. They took computers out. They took computer class out.
Yep.
And like that's the thing. So and like that's one of the things. If you look at the Department of Education, that's one of the things they supposed to help mandate and regulate.
Mhm.
That does not leave education. That don't leave schools. That like trades is probably one of the most important
Mhm.
things that we need today. And there isn't enough people that's in the trade industry.
Yes.
Carpentry.
That's right.
That like Bart,
Mhm.
where is it? Like we used to have vocational schools with the high schools, and even we still taught certain things in middle schools. It's not being taught. It's somebody needs to like grant. I understand that people want to disband it, but someone needs to speak up. Someone needs to. I don't know how, but that accountability piece has to happen. Has to happen.
No, well, we turned our back on vocational skills. That's what we did as a nation. We said that's beneath us. We can import people to do those things, whether you like it or not. It's just the truth, and we can import these people to do these things. A Democrat just recently said, not that it doesn't matter what party you are, that they can wipe our ass, and I was disgusted by that comment. That's messed up. We shouldn't be importing people to wipe our ass. We should be importing people that help our country to succeed. And my thing is, we've had this, I'm going to just call it what it is. We've had this push for college education, which is BS. Not everyone needs a college education for everything. You have kids coming out of their school learning about all kinds of silly shit that's meaningless. You have a degree in basket weaving. I'll just use that as the easiest example.
Dance.
Right, in dance theory. No one effing cares about that degree. That degree is worthless, but you also spent $80,000 on that damn degree. So what are you going to do with it? So we've indebted our young people with huge college loans, with interest levels that are not massive, but enough to make it where you're going to be paying that off for 30 years. That's ridiculous. And instead of just telling people there's nothing wrong with being a welder, there isn't. You can make $100,000 being a welder. I don't think people know that. You can make good money being a trash guy. These are occupations that are neat, and honestly, they have such a low level of folks that are going into them. They're offering higher and higher pay to attract people into them. There's nothing wrong. And I know we have an elitism culture, and I really despise that. There's nothing wrong with the guy that cleans the toilet. He's just as much a human as you are. And we need to get out of this bullshit where we act like those are lesser than or those are beneath me. No, they're not. We all contribute to society so that we all can live. Much like Hidden Figures is a great movie. I don't know if you've seen that. To showcase how even someone that doesn't have a freaking rocket science degree can actually be in something and help to accomplish something else. That's important. You need those people. You know, we've heard that anecdotally for a long time, but it's really true. Why don't we look to those people? Why don't we raise those people up and say, if we don't have someone who's a plumber, how are you going to flush your toilet? You can't take a crap anymore. You can't have anybody to fix your pipes.
Plumbers make good money.
And they do.
They make more money than we do.
Yeah, that's true. And they should. And they should. because they make-
Electricians.
Right. So why aren't we putting an emphasis on those types of careers? That's my big problem with all of this.
I think that we forgot. Well, I don't like. Matter of fact, I don't think that we still use the terminology today in this country, because I know the vocational or trades are called typically called blue collar, and where people wear suits and they in academic business, white collar jobs. That was a terminology that I learned when I was a kid. But I don't know if that's still used. However, I can tell you that I got student loans, and because I came from one of those those communities, or came from like a bad situation, they threw a lot of college money. They threw a lot of loans at me for my education, and and I'm paying for it. But my degree isn't something that like I wanted to do.
Sure.
However, that's true. But even with that, I think some of the stuff you're talking about as far as people that work those jobs, that's a taught thing, to be honest with you. That's a self-respect thing. However, when we're dealing with the Department of Education, I think that's a tough one, man, to be honest with you. I just worry that if you get rid of it, how are the kids with disabilities? What's going to happen to them? How are they going to be treated?
Yeah,
Whether
I agree with that.
what's going to happen to, because you want to put everything on the local government, but the local government's still trying to figure their own stuff out. So how are they going to take care of the education? How are they going to take care of those kids in those rural communities or underprivileged communities? Are they going to take care of kids with disabilities? They can't get their stuff out their own way. So I think if you put it on them, it's going to make things matters worse, to be honest with you.
I think it's a fair point. I do think more localized control can help in some. It's a situational thing, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. To each their own. Just touching back on the student loan thing, what were you allowed to use your money for the student loan for? Whatever you wanted to. Remember that? 'Cause
Yeah,
I got them too,
yeah.
and you could use it for room and board. You could use it for food. They don't monitor. Once they give you the check, they don't give a shit what you use it for.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. You're talking to me about an 18-year-old who's getting a check for 40 grand. They don't know what's going on. They're like, oh my gosh, well, I have, my semester is 35,000. I have 5 grand left over. I can go and eat it at nice places.
But no, like I didn't get that money. You
No,
know
no,
what I'm saying? Yeah, but
I just
but,
mean in general.
yeah, but like for me,
So
So-
did
And I
I.
spent it.
Yeah,
so
me too.
but no, like so for me,
Yeah.
like they paid for my room,
Sure.
my board, and the food I ate.
Yep.
And it also allowed me to do per se in like the work study program. So like where if I got like classes, like I worked. See what I'm saying? And then like during the summer, I was doing agriculture work at like the school I was at. I was cutting grass, and I learned how to do certain things. So that's why I take pleasure in, like, if I'm at home, like I cut grass, I edge and do all that stuff. I learned that from when I was in that school. So no, everybody, like, you may get a check after that, like if it's anything left, like, hey, here's a few $100. Okay, cool. I can spend a few $100.
Mm-hmm.
But majority of my stuff, it was towards my education. Like legit. And I worked while I was in school. So that's what my
That's
stuff
good.
went to.
I don't know.
Like schools were
Go ahead.
just better back then, I think. Like I know this may sound funny and don't look at me crazy, but I learned how to bake and sew in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned
I
that in
did too.
school.
Yeah.
I know how to stitch. Like as an adult, I know how to do that because of school.
Right.
But they
Yes.
took it out. Like it no longer exists,
Yeah.
and that's freaking ridiculous. They
Yeah,
took
I agree.
computer classes out and computer teachers out at the moment where computers started booming. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't understand
And
that
these
either.
are things that the Department of Education is supposed to have oversight over. Like,
Correct.
why don't they have oversight on it? Like,
Right.
where are they in those cases?
That's
Local
the question.
control.
I don't know.
Local control decided to take those things out. We don't need it because we need the budget for this.
Right.
But they needed the budget for their pockets, for their salaries. Because in Jersey City, what happens is, let's say if there's a budget problem where the budget isn't agreed upon,
Mm.
they say, okay, teachers, you can't get a raise this year. But guess who's getting raises? All the administrators are
Administration,
getting-
right.
Where did that money
Yeah.
come from if we didn't have the money?
Right.
Where do you think it came from? I was in those situations, so I know I can speak on it firsthand.
This
Didn't get a raise
268 billion. That's
Didn't
what
get a raise for 3 years, but all the administrators got their 10, 15% raises while we were sitting there. And then when Obama got in there, he did his Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. They couldn't agree on a contract. I remember it was 3, 4, or 4 years, no raise. Everyone else is getting a raise. Where's that money coming from? From those programs they canceled. Where was the oversight? Where's the oversight?